What really separates those who succeed from those who don't? It's a question we all ask at some point, whether we're grinding through our careers, chasing personal goals, or simply trying to live a more fulfilling life. One habit that appears so ordinary that most people overlook it, but once it becomes part of your identity, it changes everything. That habit is consistency. We often point to intelligence, natural talent, financial background, or the right connections. Some say it's luck, others say it's timing. In the beginning, you feel excited. The possibilities are fresh. The energy is high. They don't rely on willpower to get things done. They design systems, they stick to routines, they eliminate decisions that slow them down and automate behaviors that move them forward. But winners don't wait for perfect conditions. They start where they are, with what they have. And they build momentum through action. They know that consistency creates clarity. It creates progress. And that progress creates confidence. It's not about doing it all at once. It's about doing a little, every day, without giving up. They don't ask, "Do I feel like doing this today?" They ask, "What's the next step?" And then they take it. You don't always get immediate feedback. You don't always see results right away. You might show up for weeks or months before anyone notices. But that's where the real work happens. That's where the foundation is built. That's where winners are made. Not in the spotlight, but in the quiet hours when no one is watching. That's the beauty of consistency. It removes the drama, the overthinking, the internal negotiation. You stop relying on inspiration and start building a process. But then the days pass, progress slows, distractions creep in, motivation fades. Every time you show up and follow through, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who honors your commitments. You cast a vote for the person you want to become. You go from someone who's trying to write a book to someone who is a writer, from someone who wants to get healthy to someone who is healthy. And that shift, that internal transformation, is what fuels long-term success. And one by one, most people give up. Not because they weren't capable, not because they didn't want it badly enough, but because they couldn't stick with it long enough to see it through. That's where winners separate themselves. They keep going, even on the hard days, especially on the hard days. But if you study enough successful people across different fields, whether it's business, sports, the arts, science, or leadership, a different pattern emerges. One that isn't flashy, one that doesn't grab headlines, but one that quietly drives extraordinary results. The truth is, there is one habit that shows up over and over in the lives of top performers. Consistency isn't glamorous. It doesn't make for exciting social media posts. No one goes viral for waking up and doing the same thing for the 100th day in a row. But it is the force behind progress. It's the habit that gets you back on your feet when motivation runs out. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. It is about making small progress every single day, even when it doesn't look impressive from the outside. It's the writer who puts in 500 words a day, the athlete who shows up to train in the rain, the entrepreneur who makes one more call when the last 10 didn't go anywhere. These small, consistent actions may seem insignificant in isolation, but over time they compound into something powerful. It's the habit that builds skills, strengthens discipline, and fuels resilience. And most importantly, it's a habit that anyone can develop, no matter where they're starting from. Imagine a goal you've always wanted to reach. Maybe it's writing a book, getting in shape, learning a new language, or building a business. Consistency is the quiet commitment to do what matters, over and over, Regardless of how you feel in the moment, there's a reason the most accomplished people in any industry are creatures of habit. But it's not just about getting things done. Consistency is also about building identity. Most people are waiting for the right moment to start. They want to feel ready. They want to feel inspired. This doesn't mean it's easy. In fact, the hardest part about consistency is that it often feels invisible. Think about how the compound effect works in real life. If you read just 10 pages of a book a day, that's 3,650 pages a year, the equivalent of 12 to 15 full-length books. Because every time you say you're going to do something and follow through, you build self-respect. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through. And that identity shift unlocks a new level of performance. You no longer need external validation. You no longer need someone to hold your hand. You take ownership. You take control. If you write 100 words a day, you will have a full manuscript within 6 months. They were consistent. They practiced. They failed. They learned. And then they practiced some more. Don't wait for a perfect timing. Start now. Start small. And commit to being consistent. Set a tiny goal. Decide that from this moment forward, you will no longer be guided by your mood, but by your commitment. You will no longer be defined by starts and stops, but by steady, focused action. You will no longer chase perfection. You will pursue progress, one step at a time. Something so small it's impossible to fail. Do it every day. Build a streak. Let it grow. Because once you build that habit of showing up, not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's hard, you become unstoppable. Until one day, their effort caught up with their ambition, and what once felt impossible became routine. We're conditioned for instant gratification, fast food, same-day delivery, likes and shares. But real success doesn't work that way. It takes time, and eventually, they create results so powerful. People call them lucky or gifted, but deep down, they know the truth. It was consistency all along. Because over time, consistency builds momentum. And momentum is hard to stop. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need to keep going. That's the truth most people miss. Winners aren't born different. They just refuse to quit. They keep showing up, and eventually, they break through, not because they had a massive breakthrough moment, but because they refused to stop digging when others gave up. It makes the hard days easier. It makes the good days more productive. It creates a rhythm. And once you're in that rhythm, everything changes. It requires patience. And it demands consistency. If you walk for 20 minutes every day, you'll log over 120 hours of movement in a year. It's not the intensity that matters, it's the consistency. The steady, relentless commitment to keep showing up. And that commitment builds a track record. It builds trust, not just with others, but with yourself. The irony is that most people underestimate the power of consistency because the results are delayed. Even when you don't feel like it. Even when the progress is slow. Even when no one is cheering you on. You don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be the most talented. Every expert was once a beginner. Every master was once clumsy. The only difference is they kept going. If there is something you want, something you're chasing, don't look for shortcuts. And the beautiful part, this habit is available to everyone. You don't need permission. You don't need a special talent. You just need to decide. Because that's what winners do. They show up. Again and again. They trust the process. They fall in love with the journey.